Imagine a queen standing alone on the precipice of her kingdom, the weight of an entire empire pressing down, and no army left to defend her. Every decision, every movement, could mean life or death, not just for herself, but for her people. Betrayal, ambition, and raw power surrounded her from all sides. Yet she remained steadfast, determined to confront forces that sought to crush her sovereignty, knowing that history would remember either her courage or her downfall. The story of the queen who stood alone against an empire's wrath is one of courage, strategy, and unyielding determination. Born into a kingdom constantly threatened by expansionist neighbors, she grew up acutely aware that her life would never be ordinary. From childhood, she was trained in diplomacy, military strategy, and the delicate art of ruling a people whose loyalty could shift with the tides of fortune. Her education was rigorous, shaped by tutors who insisted that intellect and foresight were as essential as bravery in the face of danger. By the time she ascended the throne, her nation had already endured decades of political turmoil, invasions, and betrayals, and every decision she made carried consequences far beyond her immediate court. Historians note that her kingdom, though relatively small, held strategic significance, a crossroads of trade routes, fertile lands, and access to resources coveted by empires hungry for dominance. This made her rule precarious, and the queen quickly learned that survival required not just courage, but keen understanding of human ambition and political manipulation. She faced constant pressure from advisors who argued for appeasement, neighboring rulers who demanded submission, and factions within her own court who questioned her capability to defend the realm. Each choice was fraught with risk. Resist, and she might provoke a devastating invasion. Yield, and she risked losing not only her sovereignty but the respect of her people. Experts on medieval leadership observe that women in such positions often had to navigate double the scrutiny, balancing the expectations of traditional rule with the harsh realities of military and political strategy, and she did so with remarkable precision. Even before the first confrontation with the empire's forces, she displayed a rare combination of psychological insight and tactical awareness, studying maps, troop movements, and the motivations of allies and enemies alike. Chroniclers of the era describe her as fiercely intelligent, capable of predicting the empire's maneuvers with uncanny accuracy, and willing to take calculated risks that others deemed reckless. Yet beneath the calculated exterior, the queen carried the heavy burden of knowing that every decision could result in death, defeat, or the suffering of countless civilians. This story, reconstructed from surviving letters, chronicles, and modern analyses, reveals how she prepared mentally, politically, and emotionally for the coming storm. It is a story not only of confrontation and survival, but of leadership under extreme pressure, demonstrating how one person's resolve can shape the fate of an entire nation. Her legacy, though marked by danger and near catastrophe, endures as a testament to the unyielding power of courage, foresight, and the unwavering commitment to protect those who depend on her. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy dark history stories like this, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your feedback in the comments. From the moment the first scouts of the Empire appeared on the horizon, the Queen sensed a danger, a palpable tension that wrapped itself around every aspect of her court. She had anticipated threats, studied intelligence reports, and maintained communication with loyal generals. Yet nothing could fully prepare her for the scale of what was coming. Each day, she walked the battlements of her castle, observing the land below, tracing the lines of forests, rivers, and roads that would serve as both defense and potential escape routes. The soldiers under her command were few, their loyalty tested by previous failed campaigns, and her advisors offered counsel laced with fear, urging caution, retreat, or negotiation. But she knew that hesitation could invite conquest, that any display of weakness would embolden the empire to strike with merciless efficiency. The Queen called her council in secret chambers, insisting that maps be redrawn, supply lines reinforced, and local militias trained in rapid mobilization. She personally inspected fortifications, noting every vulnerability, from crumbling walls to poorly guarded gates, and devised contingency plans with the precision of a seasoned strategist. Her presence inspired confidence among those still loyal. Her determination was contagious, creating a fragile cohesion where doubt had begun to take root. Even as the first emissaries of the Empire arrived, bearing messages of demand and threat, she maintained composure, reading the subtle gestures, tone, and cadence of each envoy to gauge the true intentions behind their words. Experts in historical diplomacy note that such acute perception was vital. Empires often employed psychological tactics to unnerve rulers and sow internal division, and the queen's ability to remain outwardly calm while analyzing threats internally gave her a critical advantage. As tensions escalated, she implemented a network of informants within the empire's own ranks, relying on covert correspondence, coded messages, and trusted intermediaries to anticipate movements and uncover hidden agendas. Every day was a balancing act between appearing cooperative and maintaining sovereignty, a dance with danger that required both courage and cunning. The queen also faced the personal toll of isolation and responsibility, knowing that the lives of her people rested entirely on her judgment. Sleep became sporadic, meals were rushed, and moments of private reflection were rare. Yet she used every waking hour to refine strategies, train defenders, and reinforce morale. Chroniclers describe how she would walk among soldiers, offering words of encouragement, listening to fears, and subtly shaping attitudes, understanding that leadership was as much about perception and psychology as it was about tactics and weapons. She observed patterns in the empire's approach, noting the timing of patrols, the logistics of supply chains, and the predictability of messenger routes, all of which informed her defensive planning. Even the smallest details, a shift in cloud cover, a change in the movement of rivers, the arrival of unexpected travelers, were analyzed for their potential significance. She kept mental logs of every observation, rehearsing responses and calculating probabilities, aware that a single misjudgment could devastate her people. Weeks turned into months as diplomatic negotiations and covert operations intertwined with preparations for outright conflict. Yet the queen never allowed fear to dictate her actions. She was aware that history would remember either her resolve or her collapse, and she carried this weight with unwavering focus. Her decisions reflected a careful calibration of risk and opportunity, when to fortify, when to negotiate, and when to act decisively. Throughout this period, she maintained an internal dialogue with herself, rehearsing speeches, envisioning battlefield scenarios, and mentally preparing for every conceivable contingency. Her fortitude inspired loyalty, but also drew envy and skepticism from those who doubted a woman's capacity to withstand an empire. She used this doubt to her advantage, encouraging overconfidence in her adversaries while secretly strengthening her position. Experts today highlight how her strategic patience and psychological insight were as crucial as the physical defenses she oversaw. The queen's interactions with foreign envoys, spies, and military leaders were meticulously calculated, each word and gesture designed to convey strength while masking uncertainty. She recognized that perception could shape reality, that an empire uncertain of her resolve might hesitate, allowing her precious time to consolidate power. Even in moments of apparent calm, she remained alert, interpreting the slightest anomalies, an unguarded post, a misdelivered message, or an unexpected rumor, as signals demanding immediate attention. Her ability to process information rapidly and make decisions under extreme pressure distinguished her from other leaders, creating a rare combination of intellect, courage, and emotional resilience. Within her own court, she managed internal threats with equal care, identifying factions whose ambitions might undermine collective defense, and subtly redirecting loyalty through recognition, privilege, or strategic assignments. She understood that unity was fragile and required constant nurturing. Historians analyzing her reign emphasize the extraordinary blend of leadership skills she exhibited: tactical foresight, psychological acuity, and the ability to inspire unwavering loyalty in the face of overwhelming threat. As the empire advanced, sending troops and resources toward her kingdom, the queen's preparations intensified. She oversaw the mobilization of every available force, coordinated with regional allies, and implemented systems of communication that allowed rapid response to emerging threats. Yet the danger was never merely physical. She knew that morale, perception, and the anticipation of betrayal were equally critical to survival. Each day brought new challenges. A sudden shift in weather could hamper defensive measures, rumors of traitors could destabilize morale, and unexpected movements by enemy forces demanded instant adaptation. The queen responded with a combination of decisive action and careful observation, maintaining the delicate balance between control and flexibility. Her resilience became legendary among her people, who noted her calm demeanor even as uncertainty loomed over the land. She cultivated an aura of steadfastness, understanding that visible fear could undermine collective courage. By blending psychological insight, strategic planning, and personal example, she managed to hold her nation together under circumstances that would have shattered lesser leaders. And even as the empire's shadow grew ever closer, she remained vigilant, analyzing every development, planning for contingencies, and refusing to succumb to panic, proving that the power of intellect and determination could stand firm against forces that seemed unstoppable, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test every facet of her skill, courage, and unwavering dedication to her people's survival. As the Empire's armies drew nearer, the Queen's vigilance intensified, transforming every day into a test of endurance, foresight, and psychological mastery. She studied every dispatch, every report from scouts, and every rumor, understanding that even minor details could reveal significant threats or opportunities. Within her castle walls, she orchestrated drills, inspections, and exercises for the soldiers and local militia, ensuring that each person knew their role in both defense and survival. The Queen personally trained key officers in strategy and rapid decision-making, observing their abilities, weaknesses, and judgment, and mentoring them in tactics that would maximize their effectiveness despite being outnumbered. She recognized that morale would be as crucial as weaponry. Despair could destroy a defense as surely as siege engines or invading forces. To maintain confidence, she made visible her own unwavering composure, walking among her troops, engaging with them directly, and listening to their concerns with attentive care. Chroniclers later noted that her presence inspired a sense of purpose and resolve that transcended fear. Beyond immediate physical preparations, she meticulously analyzed the Empire's approach, learning to anticipate not only troop movements but the psychology driving their commanders. She recognized patterns in the Empire's logistics, the timing of reinforcements, and the way commanders communicated, allowing her to predict potential weaknesses or hesitations that could be exploited. Historical experts studying this period highlight the Queen's rare combination of strategic and psychological acuity, noting that few leaders, especially in her time, demonstrated such foresight and adaptability. She also relied on intelligence gathered from spies and informants, often intercepting messages and employing coded communication to ensure that plans could be altered in real time without tipping off the enemy. Every intercepted note, every whispered secret, became a thread in a vast tapestry of strategy, enabling her to adjust defenses and manipulate perceptions to her advantage. Even as the threat intensified, she maintained personal routines that preserve her mental clarity. Early mornings dedicated to meditation and reflection, careful study of maps and historical precedents, and detailed mental simulations of possible scenarios. These exercises allowed her to manage stress, sustain cognitive acuity, and anticipate problems before they became crises. Within the castle, subtle power dynamics required constant attention. Advisors, courtiers, and even allies could harbor personal ambitions that conflicted with collective defense. The Queen navigated these relationships with delicate precision, offering recognition and responsibility to earn loyalty while remaining alert to potential betrayal. Her ability to read human behavior, detect subtle shifts in demeanor, and influence decisions without overt coercion was a cornerstone of her survival strategy. Outside the castle, she monitored the Empire's activity continuously. The movement of supply wagons, the rotation of troops, and even shifts in the weather that could affect battle plans. She calculated the timing of each engagement, predicting when the enemy would attempt siege or negotiation, and prepared multiple contingencies accordingly. Her foresight extended to civilian populations, whose cooperation was essential for logistical support and morale. She issued directives to protect towns, secure food supplies, and maintain communication networks, ensuring that the kingdom could withstand protracted conflict without collapsing from internal strain. Despite the relentless pressure, she remained attuned to her own psychological state, recognizing moments of fatigue, doubt, or frustration and counteracting them through deliberate mental discipline. She rehearsed difficult conversations, reviewed potential military scenarios, and maintained a keen sense of situational awareness that allowed her to act decisively under stress. The Queen also cultivated resilience among her troops through example and structured training, emphasizing the importance of adaptability courage, and disciplined observation. Her leadership was a delicate balance of command, mentorship, and personal engagement, requiring constant attention to both strategy and the human elements that determine loyalty and effectiveness. As enemy forces approached the borders, she implemented layered defensive measures, strategic fortifications, ambush points, and controlled retreats designed to delay the advance without sacrificing morale. Each maneuver was carefully timed and executed, often using misdirection to mislead the empire about the kingdom's true strength and readiness. She coordinated with allied states, leveraging diplomatic channels to create uncertainty and force the empire to divide attention and resources. Historians highlight these maneuvers as masterful examples of defensive strategy under overwhelming odds, emphasizing the Queen's combination of intelligence, courage, and psychological insight. The psychological dimension of leadership was never far from her mind. She anticipated fear, panic, and betrayal, and developed strategies to counteract these tendencies, maintaining cohesion even in moments of crisis. Her observation of enemy behavior, attention to detail, and ability to project calm authority created a psychological advantage that complemented physical defenses. In moments of extreme tension, she relied on intuition honed over decades of study, careful observation, and lived experience, making split-second decisions that could determine life or death for herself and her people. The empire, confident in its numerical superiority, often underestimated her ingenuity, misinterpreting restraint for weakness, patience for hesitation. The Queen exploited these misperceptions, setting traps, preparing ambushes, and implementing diversions that disrupted the enemy's plans. She anticipated the timing of their strikes, the vulnerabilities of their supply lines, and the ambitions of commanders whose overconfidence could be leveraged to her advantage. Even in the face of immense pressure, she demonstrated remarkable emotional control, blending fear management, tactical planning, and psychological insight into every decision. Her careful orchestration of strategy, diplomacy, and defense culminated in a series of confrontations where she outmaneuvered larger forces, delaying incursions and preserving her kingdom's integrity. Each small victory, while tactical in nature, had profound psychological impact, bolstering morale and undermining the empire's confidence. Analysts note that such leadership under duress illustrates the extraordinary capacity of a determined ruler to influence outcomes disproportionate to available resources. Beyond battlefield maneuvers, she continued to monitor internal politics, ensuring that alliances remained strong, dissent was managed discreetly, and loyalty was cultivated. She anticipated potential coups, negotiated subtle power balances, and maintained the delicate equilibrium necessary to prevent internal collapse. These skills were as critical as military strategy in ensuring the kingdom's survival. And even as the empire's shadow loomed ever larger, she retained the ability to plan, inspire, and act with clarity, demonstrating that resilience, intelligence, and courage could stand against forces that seemed unstoppable. The Queen's deft integration of psychological insight, strategic foresight, and unwavering resolve allowed her to navigate the most perilous months of confrontation with skill and determination, proving that even in isolation and under extreme threat, human ingenuity and leadership could alter the course of history as the final weeks of confrontation approached. The Queen's leadership was tested in ways that surpassed any prior preparation, stretching both her mental resilience and physical endurance to the limit. Enemy forces had encircled key strategic points, cutting off supplies and communications, and yet she maintained composure, calmly analyzing each move and calculating the implications for her kingdom and her people. Every decision was a delicate balance of risk and opportunity. Retreat could invite occupation, while aggressive engagement might provoke overwhelming retaliation. She remained constantly alert, observing troop movements, enemy behavior, and environmental conditions with meticulous attention to detail, using every observation to refine strategy and anticipate the empire's next steps. Within the castle, she orchestrated the rotation of soldiers, ensured that ammunition and food were rationed effectively, and personally inspected defenses, noting vulnerabilities and addressing them immediately. Her ability to maintain situational awareness under extreme stress inspired her commanders and soldiers, who drew courage and focus from her calm and determined presence. The Queen also relied heavily on intelligence gathered from scouts, messengers, and loyal informants within the empire, carefully interpreting every report to detect patterns, predict actions, and uncover hidden threats. Her understanding of human behavior allowed her to anticipate not just military tactics, but the psychological state of opposing commanders, exploiting hesitation, pride, and overconfidence to her advantage. She maintained detailed mental logs, rehearsed multiple contingency plans, and continuously adapted her strategy in response to new information, demonstrating a level of foresight and adaptability that few leaders of her time possessed. Beyond the physical and strategic demands, she faced the immense psychological burden of knowing that the fate of her people rested entirely upon her shoulders. Nights were often sleepless, spent in reflection, planning, and mental simulation of every possible scenario. She practiced self-discipline, managing fear, stress, and fatigue to maintain clarity of thought, understanding that any lapse could be catastrophic. Her interactions with advisors, generals, and even ordinary citizens were carefully measured. She balanced firmness with empathy, using persuasion, recognition, and trust to secure loyalty and ensure cooperation. The Queen's psychological acumen extended to the enemy as well. She deliberately projected strength and resolve, masking exhaustion or uncertainty, ensuring that the Empire underestimated neither her capabilities nor her determination. Small act of ingenuity, unexpected maneuvers, feints, and psychological ploys enable her to slow enemy advances, disrupt supply lines, and protect key positions, buying crucial time for her people and allies. Historians examining her campaigns note that her combination of strategic planning, psychological insight, and personal example created a force multiplier effect, allowing numerically inferior kingdom to resist the onslaught of a vast empire. She meticulously considered every potential outcome of engagements, weighing the cost of casualties, resource depletion and morale, and adapted tactics to maximize both defense and the preservation of life. Civilians were not overlooked. She organized shelters, rationing, and communication networks to maintain order and minimize panic, understanding that societal stability was as critical to survival as military readiness. Even in moments of intense pressure, she maintained focus, conducting detailed briefings, monitoring morale, and ensuring that her commanders were aligned in their objectives. Her leadership inspired courage, fostered resilience, and enabled coordinated action across multiple fronts, highlighting the intersection of intellect, emotional control, and practical strategy in successful command. The Queen's acute observation of enemy psychology revealed vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Indecision among commanders, overconfidence, and internal dissent provided opportunities for defensive advantage and negotiation. She leveraged these insights to orchestrate defensive measures that were precise, timely, and psychologically impactful, reinforcing her kingdom's stability and the loyalty of those under her command. Each engagement tested her ability to integrate information, anticipate outcomes, and make swift, decisive decisions under duress. Her approach was both methodical and adaptive. While she relied on thorough planning, she was ready to improvise, recognizing that rigid adherence to plans could be fatal when circumstances changed unexpectedly. Even amidst the chaos of battle, she maintained perspective, constantly assessing the broader strategic picture, understanding that long-term survival required both immediate tactical success and preservation of morale, infrastructure, and social cohesion. In moments when the Empire seemed poised to deliver decisive blows, her interventions, ranging from sudden tactical maneuvers to psychological strategies designed to unnerve the enemy, demonstrated her comprehensive understanding of both human nature and military art. Her resilience extended to personal discipline. She maintained health, mental acuity, and stamina despite prolonged stress, exhaustion, and the weight of command. Historical analyses highlight that her endurance was not merely physical, but rooted in sustained mental rigor, strategic anticipation, and psychological resilience, enabling her to act decisively in conditions that would have paralyzed many leaders. She continued to monitor developments relentlessly, integrating intelligence, observation, and instinct to navigate threats, prevent internal disruption, and maintain coherent defense. Her guidance ensured that supply chains, defensive fortifications, and civilian protection measures remained effective even under relentless pressure. The Queen's meticulous attention to detail and relentless vigilance created a network of adaptive defenses capable of responding to dynamic challenges, exemplifying a synergy of foresight, leadership, and psychological insight. She employed both subtlety and overt action. Minor feints, diversionary tactics, and strategic communication were combined with visible demonstrations of command to influence both her people and her adversaries. She understood the delicate balance between projecting strength and maintaining flexibility, ensuring that every move was calculated to maximize survival while minimizing unnecessary risk. Her ability to sustain composure, maintain clarity of thought, and inspire loyalty under overwhelming pressure became a defining characteristic, allowing her kingdom to endure and her people to retain faith despite the empire's encroaching might. In the final confrontations, her strategies coalesced, revealing a masterful orchestration of human behavior, logistics, and tactical maneuvering. She anticipated enemy intentions, controlled the flow of information, and leveraged both internal and external resources to preserve her kingdom. Even when faced with moments that seemed impossible, she relied on preparation, observation, and intuition, translating acute awareness into decisive action that altered the course of events. Her legacy, captured in chronicles, letters, and the memory of her people, illustrates the profound impact of intelligence, courage, and perseverance in shaping history. Through relentless observation, careful planning, and strategic audacity, she transformed a perilous situation into a testament of human resilience, demonstrating that even when confronted by forces that seem insurmountable, determination, foresight, and unyielding leadership can preserve sovereignty, protect lives, and leave a mark on history that endures far beyond the battlefield. The Queen's actions during these final weeks exemplify the extraordinary convergence of courage, intellect, and psychological mastery, revealing how a single individual, steadfast in purpose and unwavering resolve, can stand firm against an empire, influence outcomes far beyond what sheer numbers might dictate, and carve a place in history as a symbol of unrelenting strength and the enduring power of strategic human action. The story of the Queen who stood alone against an empire's wrath is a testament to the extraordinary capacity of human courage, intellect, and resilience. Her unwavering determination, even in the face of overwhelming odds, demonstrates how a single individual's strategic vision and psychological acuity can shape the fate of an entire nation. Throughout her reign, she balanced fear and hope, preparation and improvisation, maintaining clarity of thought while inspiring loyalty and courage among her people. Her ability to navigate the intertwined complexities of diplomacy, internal politics, and military strategy highlights the profound power of foresight, patience, and meticulous observation in leadership. Modern historians often marvel at her capacity to integrate information, anticipate enemy behavior, and act decisively under extreme pressure, proving that leadership is not merely about strength but about insight, emotional intelligence, and the capacity to endure hardship. Yet beyond tactics and strategy, her story speaks to the human spirit's capacity to persevere in adversity. The Queen's discipline, courage, and vigilance created a bulwark not just against physical invasion, but against despair, uncertainty, and betrayal. Her careful management of morale, loyalty, and psychological perception allowed her kingdom to withstand pressures that might have destroyed a lesser ruler. Her life illustrates that resilience is cultivated through foresight, preparation, and the deliberate strengthening of both mind and body. It is a reminder that the human capacity for endurance and ingenuity can overcome circumstances that appear insurmountable, leaving a legacy that endures far beyond immediate events. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, like the video, and tell us in the comments what type of stories you'd like to see. Where are you watching from? And how does the Queen's courage and unyielding determination resonate with you? Her story is not just a historical account. It is a timeless lesson in resilience, strategic thinking, and the power of steadfast leadership. Let it inspire reflection on your own capacity to face challenges, plan thoughtfully, and remain resolute even when the odds seem impossible. The Queen reminds us that courage, insight, and perseverance can alter the course of history and leave a lasting impression on the world.